What's going on, guys? This is Brain from Advanced Mid Hockey Advising here, and today we'll be talking about the things that you can do to have more energy on the ice. This video is actually extremely important, which is why I want to make it, because your energy levels on the ice really dictate, how well you're going to dominate out there, and it's really going to dictate, how well you're going to succeed in your career, right? When you have low energy levels, you just can't really play that well, so it's really important to optimize and maximize your energy levels, which is why you want to keep watching here and pay attention to this video. I'm going to take you through the areas that I optimized back when I was playing, that I know my teammates optimized as well, and that I still do to this day, to have high energy levels throughout life, because it's important to have those high energy levels so you can get all the things that you need to done. All right, now before we dive into the details here, just a quick reminder, as always, to absolutely smash that like button, and if you haven't already, consider hitting that subscribe button and notification bell so you never miss another video moving forward. All right, so the first thing to optimize here is sleep. Now you're probably gonna roll your eyes like, oh God, he's talking about sleep. But honestly, like, the studies have shown that sleep is the core pillar for you to feel good, to play good, and to have energy. Unfortunately, when we get busy, especially you college athletes out there, sleep's usually the first thing to go, right? Because you got to study late nights and all that kind of stuff. I get it. But as much as you can prioritize your sleep, it really, really does make a huge difference in your energy levels and in your performance on the ice. There's been concrete studies about this. So, for sleep, general guidelines, 7 to 9 hours a night if you can. I know for college students, it's going to be more on the side of 7, which is fine. Just whatever you need to feel rested, when you wake up in the morning. You really want to optimize for quality as well, not just quantity. So you want it to be, if possible, the darkest, coolest, and most silent room possible when you're sleeping. Okay, this is really important because if you get interrupted in the middle of the night, it completely, throws your sleep schedule out of whack and all that kind of stuff. If you're too hot, or if you get interrupted for whatever reason, it's really gonna hinder your sleep. So I would say prioritizing the quality here is extremely important as well. Also, too, regularity is extremely important. A lot of people say regularity is actually king. So going to bed at the same time roughly each night and waking up in the morning at the same time roughly each morning, and I get like social situations and late games too for hockey players. I get that that's not always possible, but try and do this as much as you can, when you have control of it, because it really, there's this thing called the circadian rhythm, right? That you have that natural sleep-wake cycle. So it's really important that you follow that, because if you don't, it does throw your energy levels out of whack. So as much as you can, try and follow that. It really will make a big difference. And then the last point that I want to touch on in sleep is pre-game naps. Pre-game naps, honestly, I used to take them. They really, whenever I could fall asleep in the middle of the day, they really do make a big difference. Typically, the way I kind of went about it is this, and everyone's going to be different here, but if I had a really good night's sleep, but I felt a little, afternoon slump, anything like that, but nothing crazy, I go for like a 20-25 minute nap, something like that, max. But if I had a bad night's sleep and I knew we had a big game that night, I would take about a 90-minute nap just so I could get an extra whole sleep cycle in, pretty much, and that would typically do it for me. But obviously everyone's different. Experiment with yourself, before practice if you can, or something like that, just to see, if pre-game naps work for you, and if they do, what length is best for you, and just kind of experiment and see from there. Everyone's different. I totally get that. So with sleep, honestly, you want to experiment a little bit, but there are core principles that I mentioned here that you really want to follow, and sleep is really something you want to optimize to really make sure that your energy levels are optimized and maximized. All right, so the second key area here is nutrition. The saying that kind of goes, you are what you eat. Well, that's absolutely true, and you just want to eat better overall, especially on game day, okay? It's very, very important. And the first thing I actually want to touch on here is this: hydrating. Now, I used to get a lot of grief from a lot of my teammates to always, be drinking water and stuff like that, but it's because it really does make a big difference. And especially when you wake up in the morning, instead of reaching for a coffee or anything like that, if you ever try, reaching for a glass of water or something like that, really make sure that you're hydrating in the morning, because think about it, you didn't drink all night, right? You want to rehydrate in the morning, and for me, I don't need caffeine, I don't need anything like that. I have high amounts of energy if I woke up naturally in the morning, and if I drink some water, then I'm good to go after about 10 minutes. So it's, hydrating is extremely important. If you want a pro tip here, put a little bit of lemon and a little bit of salt in the water. That really does, even hydrate you further in the morning. So That's pro tip. You don't have to do it. I like doing it. You know, I like the taste of lemon water with a bit of salt in it, but you know, everyone's different in this case, so I totally get that. But hydration is the first point I want to touch on in nutrition. The next point in nutrition here is to eat whole foods as much as you can. The more whole foods you can get in your diet, so fruits, veggies, you know, anything like that, right, is what you want to have in your diet. You know, you want to really avoid the ultra processed, you know, carb heavy food, all that kind of stuff. It's honestly not very good for you, and the whole foods is what should be dominating your diet as much as you can. I know for some people in college, you know, on meal plans, it's a little bit limited, but you do have usually the option to make healthier choices, right? So when you can, try and make those. You really want those whole foods because they're high in nutrients and lower in calories, which in turn is better for you. It's better for your overall energy, okay? So you're gonna feel that much better if you go the whole food regimen as much as possible. On that note too, if you notice like you can't get that many whole foods in your diet, or you know, you can with some, but there's some nutrients that you're missing. For example, iron, okay? I'm just using this as an example. Let's say the foods you're eating doesn't really have high iron content. Well, in that case, you know, consider taking a supplement. Now, one thing I want to say about supplements, I'm totally okay with them as long as they're a trusted brand, you know, that honestly have great reviews by doctors that do actually third-party research, testing and all that kind of stuff. It's important because a lot of supplements out there aren't legit. You know, you really want to make sure you hit trusted brands when you go with supplements, okay? So that's the one note I want to take on that, because it's important, because not all the whole foods contain all the nutrients you need, and in our diets we're not always eating whole foods, so sometimes supplementation is key here. And then the last quick note I want to make on this, I think it's okay to eat, you know, desserts and have sugary treats and all that. You want to avoid those though, like, you know, high sugar intake and all that kind of stuff. You want to avoid those on an empty stomach, okay? Because it basically just spikes up your blood sugar and makes it go all out of whack. That's not good for your energy, trust me when I say this. The timing's important here, so you actually want to take those whenever basically you've had like a good meal of whole foods and everything. Afterwards you can have your dessert, your sugary drink, your treat or whatever. That's totally fine, but don't try and avoid doing it on an empty stomach. It's not going to be good for your energy levels. All right, and last thing that's actually on that note here with nutrition is that timing is important. Like I said, kind of the enemy of energy levels here, and it sounds counterintuitive, but it's to be snacking throughout the entire day. That's actually the enemy of energy levels. I've recently experimented with this, and I can say firsthand that the less you eat throughout the day, the more energy you actually have. And it's so ironic, but it really is true. And I'm not going to get in the science of it. There's a bunch of people that talk about how if you have longer periods without eating, you have more energy. I've tested it and it's true. I know other people that talk about that it's true, like board certified physicians and all that, scientists, all that, they mention it, that it's true. But you know, I would say if you can limit your window a little bit of eating, that's really going to make a big difference in your energy levels. So a good rule of thumb here, and everyone's different. I get for hockey players, you don't always have control as to when you eat because of games and that. But when you can, you know, if you can limit it to 3 hours before bedtime, you stop eating, and then an hour or two after you wake up, before you eat breakfast, something like that, you know, it's actually gonna really serve you, you know, instead of just eating, you know, snacks and all that stuff, which are usually not good for you anyways, right before bed, and then as soon as you wake up eating something. If you can like kind of follow those principles, it's really gonna make a big difference for you. For nutrition, I know we covered a lot here, but just all of these things, keep them in mind. It can, if you optimize your nutrition, it's really gonna make a big difference in your energy levels. Exercise is a must for your energy levels. Now, as hockey players, we're lucky. We're actually on the ice quite a bit, you know, especially in season. So that actually helps, you know, take care of the exercise side, but it's not enough though. A lot of players have the misconception thinking that if I go on the ice all the time, you know, throughout the season, I get my exercise in for the day. Well, unfortunately, that isn't quite enough. So, and here's why. So one thing is more on the injury prevention side. So if you just go on the ice all the time and you don't do the little workouts, the warm-ups, the post ice stretches and all that stuff, you probably will get injured over time. So it's really important that, you know, you do workouts even throughout the season for injury prevention. Now, obviously some weeks are different than others. I would say on the heavier weeks, maybe 1 to 2 workouts max. And by workout, I don't mean like go deadlift like crazy and all that stuff. Just do like light resistance workouts for maintenance, pretty much, okay? So you wanna do 1 to 2 of those a week type thing. And then on the lighter weeks, some weeks we have no games, we have a few practices, something like that, 2 to 3 workouts, and you can go maybe sometimes a little bit heavier, but again, you kind of use your judgment at that point. And then also off season, 5 to 6 times a week, that's pretty standard. And off season, you can go pretty heavy because you're on the ice a little bit less. Overall, that's the workouts you want to have. And also too, an important point I want to mention is that just doing this isn't enough either, right? And like, you really want to spread out your exercise throughout the day. The more you're moving throughout the day, the better your energy levels are going to be. And it's actually a myth thinking, oh, okay, well, I'm playing a game that night and I don't want to do anything. I just want to sit down because, I want to conserve my energy for the game tonight. Well, it's actually a paradox. It's actually a myth. The more you move throughout the day, ironically, the more energy you're going to have on the ice. Quick pro tip that I started implementing when I was at school is actually, integrating walks throughout my day. And it sounds silly, but it actually it really works, honestly. If you just walk throughout the day, so if you're in college classes, you're lucky, you're actually gonna implement your walking naturally. But if you're playing junior, chances are you have a little bit more time. Go for a walk at least once a day. It's actually nice. It's nice going for a quick 20-minute walk. It's gonna help with your energy levels, And I used to take it even a step further on game day. What I would do, a walk, I would sprint a little bit, I would go for maybe a light jog sometimes, depending on how I feel. I might hit the bike in the morning, something like that. 10 minutes worth of like light resistance work at some point in the day. And honestly, it made a big difference. When I did that, I just felt more activated, my muscles felt better. And when it came time to game day, I wasn't sluggish, I was just ready to go. So that, honestly, doing that kind of exercise throughout the day really made a big difference. So overall, I would say, make sure that you do exercise apart from just skating on the ice. Do those workouts that we mentioned, and try and do some walking throughout the day, and even on game day do a little bit more, and you will see a difference in your energy levels, I promise. All right, so point number 4 here that I want to touch on is hot and cold showers. Now, a lot of people talk about this. I would say I started experimenting with this maybe my first year of college, I think I started, and honestly, it's been a game changer. So what I typically do, I go in and I put the shower on cold right away, so it kind of shocks your system, okay? And then I put it on hot, and then I'll put it on cold, hot, cold, and I'll just keep switching it, and then I end on cold, and then I get out. And let me tell you, this just spikes your energy through the roof, because it basically is a shock to your whole system, and it just wakes you up, right? Honestly, I feel so good coming out. Like, obviously it's not great when you do it, and honestly, depending on the day, how I feel, I might do it a little bit less, it kind of go day by day. And honestly, it's uncomfortable in the moment, but you really do feel amazing coming out. And the energy levels that you get from it really truly are worth the discomfort that you face in the moment. So I would say this is something, if you want, like, let's say you're not feeling great that day, especially doing this trick, trust me, it's a game changer in terms of energy levels. You'll thank me if you try it. So, for those of you who are game to try it, definitely go for it. It's a great tool to have. All right, so the 5th and last point that I want to touch on here is just on game day is having a solid warm-up routine. So really, when you get to the rink, you really want to have a good warm-up routine in place. Obviously, you're going to experiment as your life goes on, but I would say it's really important, because not only does it get you into the zone like physically, but it gets you into the zone mentally as well, okay? And it really just gets your whole body and mind prepared for the game. So I would say this is a must for sure on game day. And honestly, when you do this too, coming back to energy here, it really does give you energy, right? If you're doing a dynamic warm-up, you're really breathing heavily, at least, like, you don't want to like go crazy on these warm-ups, but you at least want to start breaking a sweat, right? Because by doing this, it gets your body's energy levels up, it gets you in the zone, right? So this is definitely absolutely something that you want to do before the game. You don't want to just show up to the game 10 minutes before, throw your gear on, and get on the ice, because you're not warm at that point, and your energy levels won't be as high as they need to be. So I know we covered a ton of info here, so we're going to recap the main points that we talked about. So first, we talked about those 3 core pillars, right? Which is number 1, sleep, which I think is the most important, so really optimize that. Number 2, nutrition. You are what you eat. And then number 3, exercise. And you want it to be throughout the day, right? And then moving on from those, at number 4 here, we have hot cold showers, which is a great trick to rise up energy levels. And then number 5, on game day, having a solid pre-game warm-up routine. All right, guys, that's it for the video. And again, if you're new here and if you got any kind of value out of this video, consider hitting that subscribe button and notification bell so you never miss another video moving forward. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll catch you on that next one.